Welcome to the Home Centered Life podcast, where we seek to slow down, opt out of anxiety, and live an unhurried life. We're so glad you're here.
Journey alongside us as we learn about homesteading, homemaking, and living a more simple, home-centered life. Because we think the richest life possible is centered around the home.
Welcome back to the Home Centered Life podcast. So today we're talking about something super exciting. We were going to record a totally different episode, and then we actually had something happen right before we were going to hit record, and we're like, let's pivot, and we're going to do this episode today. And today we're going to talk specifically about how to live a set-apart life. So when we say set apart, we mean living lives that look different than most people, living lives that we're not at all saying we're perfect here, and we're going to go through all our disclaimers, but a set apart life, it looks different than most people as a family, as individuals. At least that's what we're working towards. Actively making decisions that prioritize togetherness as a family, choosing against busyness of culture. These are some of the things that we think living a set apart life can look like. What does a set apart life look like to you or mean to you?
Yeah, I think the event you're describing captures it perfectly, because I got asked a question that was nothing to do with living a set apart life. But I just answered the question with the things that popped into my head. And the response was, you guys are clearly living your life differently.
Yeah.
And I think those two words, clearly different. That's what it means to me. And to be a little bit more specific, it's not just set apart for the sake of being set apart. It's set apart in order to thrive and flourish. To different for different sake is silly. That's not what we mean.
Yeah. That's good.
But different with an aim towards greater flourishing, greater thriving, greater health. Because, at least from our perspective, the average person is not thriving, not flourishing, and not healthy.
Yeah.
Emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, physically, practically. So when we say live set apart, we don't just mean different for different sake. We mean closer to flourishing and thriving for us.
Yeah.
And that's going to look a little bit different for everybody. But hopefully, in sharing some specific examples, we give you ideas for what that might look like in your life. It's more descriptive than prescriptive.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell you what to do, more like, here's what we are doing. And hopefully that'll get the creativity and imagination wheels turning.
I think, I love that. And to add to that, I think one of the phrases, like, clearly different. And also I think about set apart meaning as well, fully alive. And we talk a lot about that. So what does that, I mean, living fully alive, like, that means you have joy in your life. You're healthy. You're flourishing in all arenas, not necessarily 100% of the time, but you can tell when someone is just like moping through life, or and you can tell when someone is just like on fire for life, like they love life, and it's looking differently, like wow, you see a person on the street and you can be like, wow, what's different about them? And I think I liked what you said, not just different for different sake. Like we always talk about that idea of being a city on a hill, and it's casting light everywhere, because like we're solid. Hopefully we're creating a solid foundation in our home and our family, so that we can then bring that light and that hope to other people. That's the goal for us. So I don't know for you guys listening what that means to you to live set apart, but that's kind of what it means to us.
Yeah. And so, as a sort of a preface, if you are somebody who's listening and you're obsessed with keeping up with the Joneses and keeping up appearances, this episode's not for you. This podcast is probably not for you. You should go listen to something else produced by somebody who's involved in hustle culture or something like that. I'm sure you'll enjoy that more if you're obsessed with keeping up appearances and keeping up with other people. But if you're tired of that,
Mm-hmm.
if you're even a little bit curious about opting out, I think one of the first things that kind of flipped the switch for me was listening to how many people there's tons of people like this. It's not directed at any particular person per se, but how many people, when you ask them how they're doing, they don't just say, I'm busy. They like gush exhaustion and busyness. Oh, I'm so busy.
Yeah.
And then they have the gall to say, but I like it that way. And I just feel like, yes, man. I just listened to I watched your body language shift. I listened to the tone of your voice shift.
Yeah.
And so that kind of riled me up in a good way to start to wonder like, well, I don't buy that. I don't buy, if you can tell me you're flourishing and thriving, but I mostly think you're lying to yourself and me, more importantly to yourself. But it regardless, I didn't want anything like that.
Yeah.
And so I started to wonder like, well, what would another option look like?
Yeah.
What would something else look like? But before we dive in, as sort of a disclaimer, nothing we're going to talk about is anything that we are doing perfectly. We're going to share stuff, but none of it is like, we've got this all figured out. We're doing this perfectly.
Yeah.
I sort of don't understand why people assume that ever.
Yeah.
Like, who on this planet is perfect? Nobody. So if I say like, hey, this is something that we do, I think people assume we do it 100% of the time without fail ever, which is such a weird thing to assume. On the flip side, I also kind of don't understand why people demand perfection. Like, well, you're not qualified to say unless you're doing it perfectly. What a weird thing to demand or assume. Perfection is not on the table. So of course we're not doing any of this stuff perfect.
Yeah.
But I think about 80%.
Well,
a solid B minus.
It doesn't, whatever grade, it doesn't matter. It's mostly just to be an encouragement. That's the goal here, is just to go backwards to what you just said. Like when people feel like they just are exhausted and busy, I feel like you were able to ask that question of what's another option. But I almost feel like most people don't think there is another option. And so kind of the hope in this episode is to just share another way. And it, I'm sure some people love like working lots of hours a day, but we don't. And we want to prioritize togetherness as a family. And, if you want to slow down and enjoy more of life that you feel like you're called to live, like that's what this is for.
It is really hard to see when you're too close to something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like holding a piece of paper or a book up to your face too close. You can't read it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people live so pedal to the metal, nose to the grindstone. There's not enough space.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think the most helpful thing is to pause.
Yeah.
And even if it's like 5 minutes, just to try and get enough distance to like read the words on the page. Because if you're go all the time, 110%, it is really hard to take a step back and think about this kind of stuff.
I mean, we talk about that a lot, and we'll share this as like a tactical, practical way of pushing against that, is why we take a Sabbath every week. Because when you're so exhausted, your brain doesn't work that way. You're just doing what's easy, takes the least amount of energy. So, I mean, one of the reasons we take a Sabbath, and we'll do a whole nother episode on that, is so that we can dream, so that we can be creative, that we can brainstorm together as a family. But I don't think if we didn't do that, I don't think we would be able to do this, and I think that's hopefully, not to shame anyone. It's more to say like, man, if this is hard for you, or you've not even thought of another option, you might just be so exhausted. And that's the place to start maybe. So Okay. So let's dive in.
But I saw you wrote just believing that it's possible.
Yeah, that's good.
And possible for you, to believe that it's possible for you, and not worry so much like, oh, some people can't do what you're saying. I don't know, but what can you do? And you, the listener, and without knowing you personally, I would say there's probably more possible than you might think or realize. And I think the Sabbath for us was kind of the first step. It was the first time we kind of put our foot in the door. Like, okay, just some space.
Yeah.
Not we didn't do it perfectly. We didn't even
Yeah.
enjoy it for like 3 years.
Yeah.
But we did it. We stuck our foot in the door,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the beginning. But
That's good. Yeah.
but yeah, remembering that it's possible for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The way that my brain tends to work is for me, it's usually helpful to go really, really big, and then sort of medium, and then really, really small, practical, tactical.
Yeah.
And so when I was making notes for this, I went like way big abstract for a second. Because I remember listening to when we were in Tennessee at Donald Miller's house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He talked about there's the story that he would have written if it was just him. And there's the story his wife would have written if it was just her.
Yeah.
But they both, I'm paraphrasing, but they both said, scrap those. What's the story we're going to write together?
Yeah.
And I think that gave language to something that we had been already pursuing by the time we visited him. But it helped kind of clarify what I feel like a lot of folks are doing, which is they are, let's say, married for whatever, for example, but they're just writing two parallel stories.
Mm-hmm.
And the stories like bump up against each other, but it's like in the TV shows where it's like the Flash has his own TV show and Supergirl has her TV show. And then like the Flash makes a guest appearance on Supergirl's and the Supergirl, but they're still separate shows.
Yeah.
Inside the same universe. Sure. But they're not one story.
Yeah.
It's two stories with guest appearances.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of folks do that.
Unintentionally too. I think it's not.
Yeah. Like, well, I think it's unintentional in parts, especially like the negative aspects of,
yeah.
I think there is some intentionality because there's a misunderstanding around independence, especially in the United States. Independence is usually painted as the pinnacle, the apex, but it's not.
Yeah.
Codependence is terrible. Everybody knows that. Independence is the middle stage. Interdependence is the best. Interdependence is the strongest. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. And if you look at psychology, sociology, scripture, it doesn't really matter. They all say the same thing, that by ourselves, we're not as strong as we are together.
Yeah.
That's not codependence. That's healthy interdependence. And I think part of the reason a lot of folks try to write parallel stories that don't do much more than just like bump up against each other is an overemphasis on independence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going for something different.
Yeah. And I think they can, I've heard someone say like codependency and interdependence can like look similar from the outside, you know, but it's more about knowing like, it's more like I'm okay and you're okay, but we're better together. And so that's kind of the way we kind of frame this whole conversation is believing that together as a unit, you, me, and our kids, we're going to be much stronger than living 4 individual lives in the same house. And I think if you're at that place, like, it's okay, you know, and again, this is just bringing awareness to like the stage that you're at and recognizing like that might be where you're at right now. And that's okay. And just beginning to bring that awareness is always the first step in making a change. If you want to start living differently, you know, and just take those baby steps, which we'll talk more about the tactical, practical coming up here. But but
I think in big, broad brushstrokes, we decided that we wanted to write an exciting story together.
Yeah.
And that it sort of like pre-answers a lot of questions. Even tactical, practical questions. Are we going to have, you know, joint bank accounts or separate ones? Joint. Because we're writing a story together.
Yeah, right. That's good.
So it has practical implications, but it also has helped us, I think, avoid a lot of, we don't need to ask and answer a lot of questions that some people have to ask and answer because we pre-clarify, like, I traveled a lot more in the past, but it was totally my thing.
Yeah.
And so cycling that down, never felt like, oh, I'm giving up my independence. It felt like, oh, we're getting closer to writing a better story together.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like giving up independence. But I think, and there's some people I can think of who probably saw it that way. Like, oh, Michael, he's just giving up his independence. I get it. Like, I could see why it looks like that, but it's not.
Yeah.
And it never worried me, or it crossed my mind just because I can see why people would see it that way, but it never worried me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I knew that the end goal was to write a better story together.
Yeah.
So which is why prioritizing togetherness is one of our core values.
Yeah. Which brings up sort of one thing that you've been really good at that we do which again, not every week, but we try to do it close to every week, is review.
About 80%, folks.
Review our family mission statement and like guiding principles for our family. And then we have a little like paragraph in there that's like the story that we're writing. And so we have it actually hanging on our wall in our dining room. And then you usually pull it off or pull it down and we look at it together during Saturday morning breakfast. And it's that reminder of like, here's our goals. Here's our, like you said, the guiding principles, like the actions that we're taking together. And then like the greater story of like, why are we doing this? And I think, again, when you're caught up in the busy and the exhaustion, it's really hard to take that step back and be like, wait, what's my life about? Like, what am I here for? And I think one thing that, I don't know, if it's just like woven into me, but we talk a lot about like, where do we want to end up? And I think if you're not thinking about like, okay, what kind of marriage do we want to have when we're 70? First of all, we want to still be married. So like, how do we get there? Like, what does a healthy marriage look like 30 years from now, 40 years from now? And like, I think those, like the daily things that feel so big right now in 30 or 40 years often don't matter. And like, I think I often remind myself when I'm in the middle of like little kidness and it's like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed or it's exhausting or whatever. I remember like, this is going to be such a short moment, and not that I always remember, but like, remembering that in 20, 30 years, I'm going to want these moments back. So how do I enjoy them now? And so having that perspective, I think is so important to remember, like what, like at my funeral, like, what do I want people to say about my life? Like, what do I want to have accomplished? And most of it is like, I want to have lived well as a family and like created good for other people. And it's like, okay, cool. So again, that simplifies a lot of things too. Yeah. So I think that's, again, a place to start, like writing your story together, but then writing a story at all. Like if you're feeling like aimless, like what story am I even writing with my life? Yeah. Okay, so some of the bigger actions, and then we'll jump into just some daily kind of tactical, practical things.
Yeah, going from the really big idea of writing a story together, kind of one level down, but still pretty big, is some of the big shifts that we've made. And again, none of these are, you have to do this, otherwise you can't live a life set apart. But the shift from me working a relatively traditional, like 9 to 5, 8 to 5 job to working from home. I knew I wanted to make that move before the pandemic, which, just as a side note, there's a lot, I've noticed this a lot, especially with my clients. If you just set your sights on the thing, a lot of times the opportunity will present itself 3-6 months down the road. And because you already knew that's what I'm going for, when the opportunity comes, you go, oh, here it is. Shoo, and you slide right into it. This just happened with a client because they need 2 managers. They had 5, and 3 separate events happened where they had opportunities to be like, go down 1 manager, go down. So in less than a month after I said that, they had 3 totally separate events where those managers left. They're like, this is perfect. Because what we actually wanted was to go from 5 to 2, and it happened naturally, kind of organically. So we leveraged the pandemic to make this move, which was really powerful. But my point is, we had decided this is kind of the goal before that. So from traditional work to work from home, going from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 to currently 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. was another thing. Like I've been working towards this. It didn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
But working towards shrinking the number of hours, and 12 to 3 is intentional because that's about nap time.
Yeah.
Going from, dual income, no kids, which is pretty standard, to Christina doesn't have to work at all. Emphasis on have to. Could if you wanted to. But my hope has always been for us to be able to be at a place where you didn't have to, if you didn't want to, work outside the home. So dual income, no kids, to like basically stay at home mom and work from home dad. But even going like steps beyond this, the goal and kind of the trajectory I'm on, especially right now, is putting my current business on autopilot so that it generates passive revenue, or close to it. But why though? Because it's mostly my thing. It's only 3 hours a day, but it's still mostly my thing.
Yeah.
Versus 3 hours a day working on our thing.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason this podcast even exists.
Right.
It's part of the reason we're homesteading, not because we want to start a homesteading YouTube channel or even sell our stuff per se. It's more of just that togetherness and opportunities that homesteading provides to learn and grow together, do stuff together, raise our kids together.
Yeah.
Again, writing that story together.
Yeah.
Lately we've even been talking about turning this property into an Airbnb and buying a tiny home and renting land for dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So that we can write that story together.
Yeah. Yeah. We're actively, we're still looking for opportunities right now. Like, how do we make it even more like the life we want to live? And that's partly why we're wanting to pivot and move and simplify. And, I think one of the things I've been talking a lot about is, especially being a mom in the 4th trimester and have a toddler and want to have more kiddos, is like, I want to have less things that detract from being with you, being with our kids, and being outside and doing the stuff that we love to do. And so I want to simplify what our daily life looks like even more, and not have to worry about, keeping the house perfectly clean, or not that I'm even doing that right now, but that's where let's look into like what a tiny home would be for a season. And then that will bring up that much more space for the things that matter. So that's what excites me, is creating more space for the things that matter most, which is spending time together and being outside and, investing in hopefully this podcast and connecting with people. And so that's what I'm very excited about that. So, well, to be continued on that story. We're just in the baby stages of that. So we'll continue updating you on the tiny home adventure that we're going to be on. So, okay. So then let's go into some of the small, daily actions. So again, these are just examples of what we're doing. We're just kind of brain dumped some things that we thought might be helpful. They're not necessarily things you have to do, but hopefully it'll just spark some imagination to begin that journey of living a set apart life. Again, it's not to say we're doing this perfectly, but if you have that little stirring inside of you as you listen to us and you're like, man, I would love to spend more time with my husband, or I would love to have more time with my kids, or I would love to homestead, or, whatever the dream, whatever the thing that's coming up inside of you, that's there for a reason. And just to encourage you, there's a voice inside of you, there's a goal or a dream inside of you that wants to come out and to let it, and so some of these small things might create space because they take away some of the noise, so one of the first ones that we've talked about, but I think one of the main ones is sharing a meal together. Pretty much every single day, unless something crazy happens, we're having dinner together. And, we generally I mean, we're all sitting down together. There's not
Yeah.
a TV on. There's not a phone at the table. It's like,
Mhm.
we're having those conversations
Mhm.
together, checking in about the day, the few
Mhm.
hours that you were working, like how did it go? And then our daughter's sharing, in her 22-month-old talk, she tries to tell us about her day, and it's so beautiful. And that's just one tiny little thing, but I think it's actually a big thing that's made a lot of impact in our lives.
I think it has a disproportionate effect, I think.
Yeah.
Not only if you look at the research, but again, deciding on some of these things helps guide decision-making processes. I got an inquiry to do some training, and it was just so much simpler to say, I can't, your location is this far away. If we do this, we're all coming.
Yeah.
Which also means I'm not going to start a 3-hour training after a certain time because I got to get home for dinner.
We have to get home for
dinner together and to put the kids to bed. And that, I don't mean that in a legalistic way. I mean it more just like a healthy, helpful, like boundary.
Yeah.
And I can almost hear people saying like, oh, not everybody can do that. And I understand, but what I would say is if we weren't talking about some people, if we were just talking what can you do? The thing I would say is just try putting your foot down on something like this. Like, you want me to go do a training? I can't do it after this time. And just watch what happens. 99% of the time, they'll say, oh, that's awesome. How about this time instead? It's theoretically possible that somebody would like lose their minds and be like, ah. But when you say like, no, if we're coming, we're all coming together. Every time I've ever said that, people have been like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then when I say like, oh, I can't do it after this time because then we wouldn't be home by this time. And that's a special time for us. I've never had anybody respond poorly. Yes, it's theoretically possible.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot more rare. People are often
That's
worried that they'll get pushback. And I think 9 times out of 10, what you'll get is actually gained respect. Greg McKeown has a great story about this in his book Essentialism.
I was thinking about that one too.
That story inspired me, and that book inspires me, obviously. But just saying, hey, we're going to have most dinners at home together has a massive, even though it's small, has a massive impact.
Yeah.
Just that one decision.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And it's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I know.
In a way. But and if you're not convinced, look at the research. Just Google positive effects of sharing a meal.
Yeah.
Right.
So we said we focus on being together more than we're apart. So again, like, I mean, it's sort of obvious if I'm a stay-at-home mom and you work from home, but we're generally
I just hide in my office
choosing. We're generally choosing to like live life together, or the activities we do outside of the home are things we go to together. Even simple things like we did our Azure Standard pickup for the first time, and in hindsight, we maybe should have stayed home. It was like
every
negative
so often,
10 degrees
outside,
but all 4 of us went. So even that, though, it was like, it was only afterwards we were like, that one I could have stayed home with the kids. But in general, it's like, oh, we're going to do this errand. Like, we're going to go together if we can't.
Or like last Friday when we went to go get milk.
We do it together. So that's the goal. It's sort of the default. And then we'll like pedal back sometimes if we realize like, oh, it's actually not wise to do that.
Not try to kill ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of on this point, together more than we're apart. To me, the desire to be together is an important barometer. And because we're default together, I notice a lot faster if there's something in me.
Totally.
Which I think is helpful. If I was leaving for 10 hours a day, it could be months or even years before I'm like, ooh, like something has shifted. But because we're together so much, it's like 15.
You're saying between the two
of
us.
If I have if like animosity or frustration or stress is building up in me, I notice it like in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't do a good job of expressing it always, but but I notice it versus like, because I'm not leaving, I don't have that time away to be sort of in denial. And I think a lot of folks can not notice for a long time,
or push it aside
or push it
because you're
aside.
not interacting
And
as
that was
much.
the other thing last week when we were having kind of a series of hard conversations. One of the things that popped into my head was like, it's actually the home-centered life in a lot of ways is really beneficial.
Yeah,
because
totally.
It's like,
we have to figure this out.
Are we going to have this hard conversation? That's not a question.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm not going anywhere today. I'm not either. Cool.
Gotta figure this out.
So, but it default, like it preemptively answers that question of like, well, are we going to have this hard? Because we are here. Pretty much together all the time. It makes it not optional to have those hard conversations, which I think is actually really good for us.
For sure.
Especially if you've got two natural avoiders. Just force them to figure it out. Anyway, I think it's positive
that we're saying
we're both natural avoiders.
So then creating shared goals.
Yep.
So kind of mentioned that with our family mission statement. We have like this dream, this goal of like moving on to land. We're on land now. We've shared that before, but like doing this like tiny home homesteading thing and like getting our dairy cow and being outside as a family together and homeschool our kids together. And we are, again, trying to write that story together and not just have like, hey, I want to do this career path and I want to do this career path in general. We're like, I could share too. Like I actually, before our little guy was born, I was for like a year and a half doing some blogging and YouTubing but it was like it was my thing and it just never clicked. Like I enjoyed it, but we started asking ourselves like, what's something we can do together? And I'm loving this. So hopefully you guys are too, but so we're doing this thing together. Yeah.
But I think shared goals are incredibly important, and whatever they are for you, I've lost track of how many times I've heard stories like, like the story I'm thinking of right now is a wife sort of lamenting that they were moving out of their current home, which was nice enough, and moving into a bigger, fancier, nicer home. And the wife was like, we didn't need to move. We didn't need to upgrade. Big house. I'm not saying anything about houses, big, small, or anything in between. What I noticed was like, they clearly were not on the same page. That was not that new house was clearly not a shared goal.
Yeah.
And the thing that is allowing me to try out, going from generally 5 hours a day to 3 hours a day, the things that allowing that is that it's our shared goal. I didn't just make up that number. I'm not just trying to do this thing by myself. Like I have this idea and you better be on board with it. It's like, this is our shared goal. So even if it did fall apart, you wouldn't blame me or shame me because it was our shared goal. So I don't have that. I don't have the extra layer of trepidation or fear.
Like that.
This could fall apart and I could go get a job at the gas station. But what I wouldn't have to worry about is you coming up being like, I told you that would never work. Because it was it's a goal that we have together.
Yeah.
So I think it's really powerful.
We have on our list that we work the homestead together. So that can look differently, like daily tasks wise. Like right now it's mostly taking care of the outdoor animals and keeping them warm. But in like when the weather's warm enough and like we take the kids out and we do it together. Like after you're done with your work stuff, like it's like that's sort of the default. Like, hey, let's go do the homesteading stuff together. And that's been a really good one. And whether it's, whether you have a homestead or not, or if it's like, oh, we have a garden plot or, you know, whatever it looks like, or we keep bees together. I'm not sure. Something again, that's small. And I would say, I think there's a lot of power in something, working on something together outside. I don't know. I've seen a lot of like health stuff for us it's been so good for all of us as a family to be outside together, using our bodies, like working together. I've been loving that. So, And you're
better at that than I am. but it's something I'm working on.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And in the winter, it's a little more difficult, but
Yeah.
there's just innumerable benefits to doing work outside
Yeah.
as a family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but one of the reasons I love homesteading is just because it's a giant excuse to do a bunch of that.
Yeah.
It really is more of a, even if we gave away literally everything we produced, that would be less than ideal. But I would probably still do it just for the work together part of it.
It's really powerful. Yeah. Yeah. So we just said, obviously, but we're attempting to raise our kids together. It's not like I keep the kids and Michael like comes home and like hangs out with them for an hour. It's like you're actively doing this with me.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and like you take our little guy in the wrap during his nap so I can take a nap, and like things like that we're working together. And I feel that, and it just is empowering, and to see that like virtuous cycle, like of watching our kids interact with you and with me, and they feel so much safer too when kids know like when the parents are on the same team and doing the thing together. So so let's go. We'll just wrap these up real quick. Daily small action, limiting screen time.
Yep.
So I just have to say, this makes me like, it pains my heart when I see families together out to dinner and each individual person is on a cell phone and just like head down. Like, so please, again, if you could do one thing, I would say start here. Start limiting your screen time, especially like after the kids go down. If you have kids, that's like the time that you get to connect. Like, I know I totally get like when the kids are awake, it's like, oh, you're trying to have a conversation and you get interrupted 12,000 times. But like once they're asleep, this is a really great time to connect as a couple. And, again, too, like with our daughter, she's in that like wanting to see our phones, and we're like, no, that's not something you get to do, because we're trying to set an example for her. And this is not saying we don't watch television. We watch shows a few nights a week probably, but even that, we don't do it every single night. It's not the default thing. So, I think this is a really good place to start, and just notice what comes up. Like someone we were just talking to said, it's not like there's not time. He's like, I get an update on my phone every week of how much screen time I'm doing. And you're like, okay, let's say it's like 4 hours a day of screen time. That's 4 hours of life that you could pivot and do something else with. And I don't think, again, not shaming anyone, I'm not perfect at this either, but like just looking at that and saying, okay, what could I use this time for instead? Even an hour back of my life. So yeah.
One of the most helpful things I ever stopped letting myself say was, I don't have time, or anything related to that. Well, if I have time, I don't let myself say that anymore. And
that's good.
It's incredibly powerful to even like, I'll feel the words coming up and be like, and you might not feel like this is true for you, but just eliminating that from my vocabulary has been actually incredibly empowering.
I like that.
Adopting a mindset of, and you can argue if this is accurate, if it's true, but I would say I don't even care. It's useful to think in terms of, it's not about having time, it's about making time. The time is slipping away every which way. I've got time. But did I make the time? No, I did not. Yes, I did. Whatever. But I try not to let myself say I don't have time or anything related to that.
Yeah, I like that. It's good.
Just personally, that it's been actually incredibly empowering. One other way that we're moving towards limiting screen time is getting a second phone with a phone number that pretty much you and maybe my mom has. And my work phone, which is currently also my personal phone, just stays up here in the office. So that at night, it's like that phone It's not going to ring if you're with me,
Mm-hmm.
or unless there's a family emergency from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then with no apps or anything else on it, there's no temptation to check Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about homesteading.
Yeah.
I also wrote down growing your own food. That's pretty unusual. And it's a great thing that even if you don't homestead, growing any type of growing your own food, which you've always done a great job of spearheading, which I super appreciate. Anything related to raising animals. We did a whole episode on chickens, like one or two chickens, preferably two, just so they have company.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty unusual now, even though it's historically normal.
Yeah, that's a good
If you want to
point.
live a set apart life now, chickens are a great way to do that.
Yeah.
And then I wrote down this one because this is like a life goal of mine. Every time I put the letter A in my search bar on Google Chrome, it auto completes Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Every time I see that, I'm like, man.
Yeah.
So that's currently true. But my goal is to get to a place where when I type in the word A, it auto completes Azure Standard.
I love it. That's
So,
good. For those of you that don't know, it's like how would you say it? Like a holistic grocer, online grocer. We're just starting the journey.
We just
with them,
placed our first order ever, but it's sort of a life goal to shop there as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing. It's more of just, again, living a set apart life and flourishing and thriving even more. And there's things on there that you can't actually get on Amazon, even though Amazon, you think you can get everything. We still get stuff on Amazon, but just that, like, you don't have to get everything from the normal places that you think of.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're in survival mode, that's all you're going to think of. Totally. I understand. And we still get stuff from Amazon or the normal grocery store, but more and more we're realizing there's actually a lot of options, and it's not that much more effort, and it's also usually a lot cheaper. So there's a lot of those opportunities.
Just to jump back on that too for a second, I think the whole reason behind that is because we noticed, like we've gone through several shifts of like, we have Amazon Prime and we don't, and I just canceled it again because
how many times have we canceled it?
A lot, but
I want to say like 6 or 7 times.
Working on
it
and not needing that like instant gratification and trying to. We have, again, this is in progress right now for us, moving away towards like, oh, I need this thing on Amazon because they make it so easy to buy. So we're trying to move towards like ordering just like once or twice a month and like asking ourselves, like, do we need this thing? Again, just as a way, moving away towards consumerism for us and moving towards more simplicity.
Yeah.
So it's not like anything against Amazon. It's just like, oh my gosh, we've noticed how quickly we buy a bunch of stuff that we probably didn't need. So we're trying to do that as a family, and we're not there yet. So we're working on it.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how that goes.
When our dogs were barking and when our daughter heard the dogs barking and turned to me and goes, Amazon, maybe. I was like, oh my gosh. She knows like 3 words and one of them is Amazon, maybe. Azure Standard, to your point, the whole format is there's a delivery once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes that, I don't know how often, I'm not going to put a number to it, but it seems like a lot where I buy the thing on Amazon precisely because it'll be here soon.
Totally.
Not because I need it, not because it's more just like, oh, I'll get it because it'll be here in 2 days. With the thing I like about Azure Standard is the model is totally different, and it actually forces us to be like, are we going to get this size bag of lentils or this size bag? And we actually like have to pause and think about it. And we have space to pause and think about it. We have margin.
That's good.
Space to think.
It's about margin. Yeah.
Are we going to do, bulk peanuts or not bulk peanuts? And there's actually like space to think about it. Nothing against Amazon, of course, but again, it's like that instant gratification. And I'm sure they know. I know they know they've got us.
Anyway,
they've got all the data.
Yeah. So that we're going to wrap it up here. I'm sure there's other things, but these are just some things to start throwing out there to hopefully get your wheels turning in your own individual lives to start like moving towards that set apart life. And really, again, our hope in sharing these things is so that you have that space in your life to look different for a purpose. I think that's, I like that. Different for a purpose. That's the whole goal in living a set apart life. It's not just to look snazzy and to have people like stop and be like, you're so different. It's like, no, because we're doing it for a purpose and like for the greater good. Not that so that's the goal.
Yeah.
And hopefully this has been encouraging and helpful. And we'd love to hear where you're at on this journey. And if you have any questions, we'd love to answer those. Again, not because we're experts, but because we're on the journey together. So
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's conversation around living a set apart life.
We hope you found it both helpful and encouraging. And if you like this episode, we would love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's a great zero-cost way to support this podcast and what we're trying to do.
You can also find us on Apple and Spotify and leave us up to a 5-star review. One of the amazing things about the world we live in is you can help us live a set apart life just by leaving a review and subscribing to our channel.
We look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us as we live a home-centered life together.